Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Patricia Monna Intuitive Consulting. This month I have the lovely Susan Reynolds back with me to talk about the August 2024 energies. And boy, Susan, do we have a lot to talk about because the world has gone mad. The you know what's happened over the last couple weeks in the month of
Yes.
July, and we are recording this at the end of July, but we always try and get this information out to you before the first. But yeah, Susan, oh my goodness.
I was just thinking about, I couldn't tell if it was June or May when we were doing our talk. And I remember saying, this is not going to be a calm summer. It's going to be a bumpy ride, folks. But I did not anticipate this.
Yeah. So it's interesting you say that because when I describe the energy of 2025, and I've said this in numerous videos, when I talk about 2025, I said you'd feel the energy of that 2025 nasty energy coming in the second half of 2024. And I warned people back in 2023 and in 2024, make sure you get your traveling done in the first half of it. Or even as far down as September should be okay. But the nuttiness really starts to heat up in the second half of 2024, and that moves into 2025. It sets the stage for 2025. And where we start to see the beginning of the mounting energy was the second half, which we are just in it, right? We're in it. And so now we are going to see the headlines are going to get crazier. The actions and reactions of people. And let's talk about that, how that is coming in and looking on a personal level too. Because yes, does this affect global and political leaders and all that? Absolutely. But it affects every single one of us. It's an energy. And so it matters what we're aligning with and listening to and surrounding ourselves with at this time, because it is a time where I've been warning people, batten down the hatches. That starts happening the second half of 2024. I've said it numerous times, and I truly believe that that's what we witnessed was the beginning of that energy coming through, where we're going to see the crazy headlines. The attempt on President Trump's life. It's and that was the grace of God. That was God protecting that man. If you look at the analysis of the shots and how close it was, it that was the grace of God. And I just think it, to me, when I see someone not get away with something like that, it shows me, okay, the light is winning. We're still protected. There are angels in the astral that are fighting to secure this world and help us out, because it's the craziness in humanity that's causing these waves of events to happen. What got inside of that kid? Well, it's interesting because you talk to people, for example, who are part of riots, right? And they're throwing bricks and they're rah, 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 lighting things on fire. And then the next day or 2 days later, or 3 days later, they turn around and go, oh my God, what got into me? I don't know what got into me. It's a spiritual alignment, people. We have to remember that we are first and foremost spirit having a human experience. And what is spirit? Spirit comes from our thoughts. It's what we're aligning with. It's the broadcast system, right? And so if we're having these obsessive negative thoughts, that's when our thoughts become our actions, and our actions then become the reality that we're witnessing, right? So I just think that it's now more important than ever to guard your consciousness, careful what you're tuning into, and feeding, don't feed into the frenzy. We have to just sit back and see how things unfold, because I can see the energy of it. And you guys, doing global predictions for me is totally not my favorite thing, because I am more of a person who can feel the effects of how this energy is going to affect each person. And when I connect with a person, it's like reading their life book, right? And being able to go, oh, let me go back in time and let me go forward in time and look how this is going to affect you and the choices that you need to make today or tomorrow so that you can better the future of the timeline that you are creating, right? Because that's what we are all doing. We're creating our timelines. We're creators. So I just think that for the people who don't know what their truth is, who they are, what their morals are, what, I think we're in trouble. I think we need to remember at the end of the day that there is a fight, a spiritual battle that's happening. And, it was very apparent when we went through the pandemic. It was very apparent. You could see it in your face. And just because that energy is laying low doesn't mean it's not there. There is still a fight happening between good and evil. And there are people that want to dominate the countries. So I was thinking in my head, okay, I'll go first, and then I'll let you go, or I'll let you have it. Okay, listen to this. So what I was thinking today as I was on my drive was, you look at the families that keep coming back, just like the Trudeaus, right? Now it's his son who's running our country. You look at the Clintons. Well, if it wasn't Bill, it was Hillary that you now had to worry about, And if it's not Obama, well, he's been pulling the strings with Biden for a long time, right? It's gonna be Michelle. They're either gonna put her up or it's gonna be Kamala Harris.
It'll be Harris. I don't think it's going to be Michelle. I just don't get any energy around that.
Well, I'll tell you something. If they were smart, they would put Michelle in. They wouldn't put Kamala in because not a lot of people like Kamala, from what I understand. But a lot of people love Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama doesn't have the bad name for herself. She hasn't ticked off society in a massive way. Her husband may have, and Kamala Harris may have, but Michelle Obama has a pretty squeaky clean name for herself right now. So if they were smart and they wanted to win the election, they would actually put it in Michelle Obama over Kamala.
I can see your point.
Do they want to? Like, does Michelle want to or Kamala want to? That's up to each individual. But I'm just saying, I honestly think that if they put Michelle in, they would have a much better chance of winning than if they did Kamala.
Now, I'll say, I see Kamala winning. I know that might not be the most popular.
I have that written down. A woman of color, it'll be a female of color.
I see her winning. Not only do I see her winning, I see the Democratic Party keeping the Senate, and I see the Democratic Party taking the House. So we would not only have a Democratic president, but a Democratic Congress. Remember, this is July of 2024. Energies are moving so quickly and things are happening so abruptly that who knows how long this prediction or feeling will last. But right now at this point, this is what I would say. But I agree with you 100%, Patricia, because things are going to escalate and increase between now and November. That means we're going to be hit with more shocks, more surprises. And our country, I don't know how bad this is in Canada, but in the United States, our country has never been more divided politically. Yes. It is not just that people have different political views, which they've always had, but somehow now if somebody doesn't agree with you politically, they're the devil's handmaid and the enemy. Do not let the media, the news outlets, or anybody else turn you into a person full of hate for others. And lots of times, most every January, I give a talk on the predictions for the coming year. Patricia and I have talked about doing one together about 2025, because that's going to be an exciting year. But one of the things that I tell everybody is, regardless of your political views, whether you're the most liberal or the most conservative or somewhere in the middle, it doesn't matter. Pray for these leaders. Even if you can't stand them, even if you think the worst thing to happen to the country, because when you are doing that, you are protecting them. Mm-hmm. You are helping yourself to keep your heart center open. And that is never more important than it is now. is to make sure that we stay centered in light, we stay centered in love. Doesn't mean you think that candidate or person is right or you agree with them. It means you're living in light. You are refusing to allow yourself to dim your light.
Mhm.
That's why it's so important. So, yes, here in the United States, in 1 month, we've had an assassination attempt on Donald Trump that literally he turned away and it grazed his ear. We have had President Biden that was the nominee, very surprisingly dropping out of the race. We have the vice president now stepping up to be president. Nobody knows what's going on. When we were talking in June, I was concerned for the Republican convention happening in our country in July because we had Uranus and Mars sitting next to each other, like this close. Mars is forceful. It's action oriented. It can be violent. And it's right next, or it was for most of July, right next to Uranus, which is sudden, unpredictable, unexpected, upheaval, chaos. And I was like, do neither one of these parties have an astrologer on staff that can say this is not a good idea? Do not do this. God. And I really was concerned that something would happen at the convention on Monday the 15th. But instead, it surprised me, and it happened on Saturday the 13th, which I thought something would happen, but it totally took me by surprise that it was happening at a speech and a rally instead of on the convention floor. I think he would have been better protected at the convention. But that's the violence that's been here throughout most of July. And in August, the Republicans are bad enough. The Democrats, what is wrong with them? They have scheduled their convention when Mercury is retrograde. I'm like, do these people not understand astrology at all? A convention is a big undertaking. In the United States, it's when the different parties nominate their candidate, and there's thousands of people and televised, and it's a very big deal. Lots of the big wigs from the party are going to be there. When Mercury is retrograde, and by the way, for everybody, for all of us, Mercury is going to turn retrograde on August 5th, and it's going to stay retrograde through August 28th. And most of us in our personal life, we don't much like this. Mercury is our planet of communication. It is our planet of day-to-day activity, going to the store, doing carpool with the kids, doing some work from home on the computer, talking on the phone with our friends, our everyday kind of life. And when Mercury turns retrograde, our everyday life gets interrupted. There's a glitch in the computer. The car is making a funny noise. Or the doctor's office lost our appointment. The meeting gets rescheduled. The client can't make it. It's not terrible, horrible things happening, but it's annoying things happening. And sometimes that's just as uncomfortable as the big things happening. So I'm going to say, to the month of August, double check everything. Keep your confirmation numbers. Get it in writing. Text. Make sure. Yeah, you need to CYA through the whole month of August.
Yes. And I even wrote down question everything, go over everything with a fine tooth comb. So I don't mean to interrupt you, but it's so funny.
No.
I have the same thing written down. It is so true. I'm telling you, there's an energy that is flipping us on our axis. So let me talk about that really quick, because some people know this about me, and maybe some people don't, but I'm an astral traveler. I find it very easy to be able to get out of my body when I want to do it. When I want to sleep peacefully, I can knock myself out and stay in my body. But I have access to different realities, different dimensions, literally, where you're walking through walls, where you're flying out of this reality. It's anyways, beyond comprehension if you haven't had it happen. By the way, I learned it at the Monroe Institute. They'll teach you how to do it. They'll do it. So anyways, there is a group of people out there. Now, some of it is way above my head, what has been discussed and the missions that they're on out there doing things. But what I found very interesting was the group that I'm a part of had said, we did it. We've entered the inverted matrix. And they mentioned that they had gained access to all these different um, axials. It's like I said, it's above my head, it's above my head. So, anyways, that they said that right before the Trump. You have to be very careful what words we use on here. But the incident with Trump that happened, they said it the day before. So it's like, oh my God, did they shift something? Because I'm telling you, something shifted. Something shifted. And I'm going to be honest, you guys, I do not feel confident right now in myself in giving predictions when it comes to the politics. Personally, yeah, because it's an energy thing. When I'm doing a reading, I can click into your story like that. But I'm talking about there is a colossal novel upon novel and volume upon volume that's shifting and changing right now, that yes, we are writing it as we live it every day, but some of it's already been pre-written. But the stuff that you'd think is pre-written isn't happening the way you think it is. So that's what I'm saying. There's a little bit of an inversion happening right now. And I think in a different reality, Mr. Trump maybe would have lost his life, and I thank God that that's not our reality. Could you imagine? Could you imagine the Civil War? Could you imagine what would have
The
happened?
last thing we need.
Exactly. Praise God, he was protected.
Yeah.
100%. So that's why I'm just saying, you guys, I can feel the energy of what's going on. Don't ask me to predict who's going to win the presidency, because I think that there's a lot more twists and turns to this. Remember last month I talked about the next level Hollywood, how the reality is getting to be one big ongoing movie in our face, where it's next level Hollywood, right? Like I'm telling you, the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp thing didn't it that felt really weird to me.
That
That
was
was
very
like, it was
strange.
like Hollywood was trying a new style of TV.
Oh,
That's what I guess I'm trying to say. It's like Hollywood's trying a new style of TV. And I think that we're all participants in it, right?
right.
Without even knowing it. So there's something up with that just doesn't feel right to me. And all I know is that the energy of these next few months, we have to be on our game. We have to question everything, go through contracts with a fine tooth comb. So where can this go in where can this touch you on a personal scale? Where, well, it can be things like betrayal. All of a sudden, the gloves are off. You're standing in your power. You are standing up and quitting your job in a moment's notice because you're standing in your truth. And always stand in your truth, because there's something there that, if we stand in our truth, we'll never go wrong, right? It's when we shake in our boots and don't listen to our heart, that's when we get in trouble. So, but that's just an example of people standing up and quitting their jobs, or just saying enough is enough and putting their foot down, or the mask coming off and you finding out that family has betrayed you or friends have betrayed you, or you know what I mean? It's that kind of an energy where it's just like, you guys, be on your toes and have no part of it. Do not participate in it. Don't let anybody have any power over you right now, because it does feel like a constant power struggle out there right now. And people who are living in the 3D are living in their egos. So they'll go after you. If it's almost like you'll see revenge more. People living in that.
When people are afraid, they lash out.
Yes,
And so that's what happens. We receive the brunt of something because
100%.
people's fear.
And that's a 3D matrix. It is part of the 3D reality that they want you anchored into that fear. And oh my God, what am I going to do next? And lack, and how do I live without this person, or how do I live without this job? No, this is where we got to understand God has our back. Same way God had Trump's back, God's got your back too. Every single individual one of us. We got a team of angels working with us. Connect with them, you guys, because I really think it's going to get a lot more in our face. And like I said, we're seeing it on TV in that next level Hollywood show. but it trickles down because everything affects us. It affects our consciousness, right? And it's what has our attention is what we're going to see manifest in our life, right? If we're feeding into the frenzy, that's what we're going to see. So,
I agree 100%. I'm going to say when I picked up a few things about Justin Trudeau in Canada.
yes, tell me.
I'm not saying they're right. I picked up a few things, but I've also picked up a few things about the US. And for us, it feels as if, and I'm glad this attempt is over. The shooter, the potential person, he has been taken out. But I don't know that Trump is out of the woods yet. It feels like there's a lot of chaotic energy he is going to be entering, and it seems to be affecting his health, his body. So I don't know that it's COVID like what Biden has. Biden seems to be in the storm and coming out of it, where Trump seems to be going into this storm. So the energies are different. So regardless of your politics, pray for these two men. Just set aside your politics and go to a higher energy. Now I'm going to back up and I'm going to say, I pick up the United States easier than Canada because this is my country and I'm more used to it. And I don't understand a lot about Canadian politics as much as that. So I'm like, what is that? Is that right? But when I'm looking at Trudeau's energy, how can I put this? It's like he's got a big Jupiter over his head. Jupiter, as I said, is that planet of bigger, better, more. So it's like he wants to go forward. He wants to do this. He wants to push his policies. He wants to tell people what to do. But when I look at the energy of the nation of Canada, it is completely different. He is out of step with the nation. He is out of step with the Canadian population. And he's so caught up in his vision, he doesn't see it. He is completely unaware that this country, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong about this, time will only tell, they're over him, is the best way I want to say this. They are so ready for this man to pack his bags and head out of town. And if he wants to head to another country, bye-bye, they're not going to stop him. But I don't see him, and I don't know what the phrase would be. I'm saying stepping down, but a new election or something in October. Jupiter is going to turn retrograde, where right now it's moving forward and direct, giving Trudeau more energy. In October, that's going to change. So most people start to experience these things a little bit before the curve. I think it's the 9th of October, Jupiter goes retrograde. And that's just a word that means it looks like it's going backwards. It doesn't really go backwards, but it looks like it does from our point of view. So the energy, instead of being forward and direct and clear, it's underground, it's underneath, it goes back to things. So he's going to not be as strong, not be as forceful, not be as in your face, not be as confident. So he may go back and revisit other policies. I think, and I'm sort of like you, I make political predictions, but it doesn't mean I'm right. Folks, we are not omnipotent. We're just using our gifts the best way we know how. It feels like he might step down between October and February. I don't know if that makes any sense from Canada's point of view, but intuitively and astrologically, that's what it feels like he might do.
well, here's the weird thing. Okay, so I made the prediction that he would step down, or that he would leave Parliament with his tail between his legs, June 2024. Now, here's the weird thing. I had no idea, because I don't know what's happening on the other side of the country, but there was a very huge by-election that happened on June 20th, I believe it was. It was either June 20th or 24th, I can't remember, but and I had said, give it to the end of June. It'll be towards the end of June, right? Well, this by-election, it was in the St. Paul riding in Toronto. The Liberals had owned that seat for 30 years. It was their strongest roots in a riding. He lost it. And so there was a big, huge, his caucus, everyone was like, okay, we need to reassess, because that was his number one, riding that he always banked on, and it's a big riding. He lost it. So here's my thing. he has been shamed out of office already. He's not meeting with his caucus. His caucus immediately wanted to hold a meeting with him. He still hasn't. He's refused to hold a meeting with his caucus. And I think it's because he knows his caucus is going to ask him to step down, right? Well, that brings us back to what happened in June, right? That's a very embarrassing thing that he lost. They're all crapping their pants about that. They know that up here, that they're gonna lose by a landslide. Like it's bad how bad the Liberals are gonna lose up here if they keep him in. And so maybe he's, not wanting to have that discussion with his caucus is why he's trying to keep on outrunning them. But here's the other interesting thing. They also left Parliament 3 weeks early. Why? After that
Well,
by-election.
I was just gonna say, why?
Exactly. They called it 3 weeks early. So all these lovely politicians now get 2 months plus 3 weeks that we're paying for their vacation. So I'd really love to know why they split 3 weeks early. So I'm not going to give up on that prediction yet, because let me see if he even comes back into office in September. Will he even be there, or will there be an announcement? To me, I would have thought the announcement would have happened in June, but losing that huge by-election, that is being shamed out of there, because that's their root. 30 years. How do you screw that up? Right? Yeah, but that's how bad he is out of touch with Canadians. He's massively out of touch with
Yeah,
Canadians.
I get the same thing.
But
He doesn't listen to anybody.
he's a
I'm
classic
not,
narcissist. This is
yeah,
why
I'm not talking about, it's not just that he's not listening to Canadians. He's not listening to his own advisors.
not
He's
listening
not
to his party.
listening to anybody. I mean, folks, I'm not trying to trash him. If you think he's good, you voted for him. This is just for entertainment. And Patricia will tell you the same thing I'm telling you. It's really challenging to try to pick up political and national energies, because you can see an energy, but we all have free wills. And how
Yes.
these parties and nations are going to own that and use that often just takes us completely by surprise. So all we can do is tell you what we think is happening. I agree with you 100%, Patricia. His days are numbered. I think this last gas of the forward moving Jupiter, I think he's going to use that through August. But as this Jupiter is getting ready to shift direction in early October, it may be late September, early October, that it feels like his shoulders slump. I want to feel like he's okay, like he's finally willing to accept reality.
He needs to.
He's not good at accepting reality.
No, like I said, he's a classic narcissist, very egotistical. It's sad. It's really sad how it's almost like he's borderline psychotic, the way he will hold on to his seat, and hold on to his title for dear life, and actually think he's doing a good job. Like,
Yeah.
it's really sad. So, but here's the thing is that I agree with you. I don't think he will step down willingly. I think that he has to have that meeting with the caucus that should have happened in June. But he ran. He's in Tofino on a vacation. Oh yeah, he's in Tofino. They found him. Some independent reporter found him and hounded him down and was like, you're here when our Canada's on fire. Literally, there's so much on fire right now with BC and Alberta, and yeah, he's out surfing in Tofino. So God bless him.
Well, we've got people like that in our political system. Ted Cruz, the senator from Texas, when they're having some big ice storm, he runs away from the state and gets on a plane to Cancun to have spring break. These politicians, we are not the only ones. All over the world, populations are becoming so disillusioned and so fed up with their political parties. And I'm not limiting this to our two nations. I see this in Europe. I see this in South America. I even see this in England with the royal family. Like, they're getting a little fed up with not that they don't love them or respect them, but this is worldwide. This is not limited to our two nations. So this is part of what I talked about in January, the new Pluto going into Aquarius energies. Remember what I said about Aquarius is about freedom, independence, equality. Everywhere, all over the country, nations are going to be, when I say nations, I mean the population, not so much the leading parties or those in power. The population is going to be looking at what's fair. What about us? Who's in the ruling elite and how long have they been there and how come they have that and we don't? People all over the world there is starting to get a little fed up. Remember, this much of Pluto is in Aquarius. It's going to be here for the next, 19 years or something. We're
Wow.
going to see major, major shifts all over the world in all kinds of countries as the population is saying no more. We are sick of this. We are sick of this ruling elite who keeps the cream off the top and the heck with the rest of the nation. We're going to see changes, major changes play out. And I was just telling Patricia, some of those are going to start next year. Because if you think 2024 has been a bumpy year, wait until 2025 makes its appearance.
I agree. I agree. Like I said, 2025 has been on my radar since 2020, and it was like, oh gosh, yeah, the next 5 years are not going to be fun. And then we hit a wall, and things a lot change in 2025. So, but you know what, you guys were made for this time. This is what, at the end of the day, we need to realize we are made for this time. We have been placed here in this timeline, in this reality for a reason to affect change, right? Whether it's you and I to get the word out for people to say, hold on to your sanity, here we go again. Just remember how to ground yourself and stay sane as peaceful as you can through this time. Because like I said, it's yes, there's global stuff going on, right? But at the end of the day, that's also a choice to feed into it. It really is. Because it's our choice to turn on that TV or that radio and listen to it and then have an opinion about it, right? Because when you don't have an opinion about it, you're indifferent, you don't care, so it doesn't have a hold on you, so it's not stressing you out, right? So I turn my brain off with this stuff and I don't feed into it. But when it comes to the personal level, like I said, we're also going to see the rodeo happen in our own in our own backyard. So we've got to remember the tools that you've gained over the last 4 years, because a lot of people woke up during the pandemic. Those 4 years were a huge fast track course of spirituality for a lot of people, where they've grown leaps and bounds, and before they didn't have the tools in the toolbox, to fight the anxiety and to neutralize the depression and stuff. But just don't forget what you know, you guys. And if you feel like you don't have the tools, to stay sane through this time, I teach meditations. I teach online. I teach in person. I teach retreats. Come have a week of sanity with me. By the way, I will say I did have one cancellation spot for my September retreat, my psychic awareness retreat. So if anybody was thinking about it and holding out to the last minute, well, it's been sold out for a while. So I expect this spot to go fast too. So if anybody wants to sign up, it's back open on my website. Come join us for a week of peace. Find your peace. Dig out your tools. Go through my list on my YouTube page, and down you'll see where there's free meditations and stuff. Get into that state of peace, because that is how we change the world, is by changing our state, our vibration, and maintaining that, and then exuding it, right?
Last month, when we were talking about this and saying the same thing, that if it's a bumpy ride, we have to hold our center. And I talked about a breathing exercise that I do to help me stay centered, to help me move into a quiet place for meditation. And I said, if anybody wanted to get that, they could just email me and give me their email. I send them this for free. So many of you did. And so I hope you are continuing to do that breathing exercise. It helps bring you into center, helps you stay focused, helps you calm down, because we have so much coming at us. We tend to look at change as bad. Change tends to upset us. What's happening? What's happening? I don't know what's happening. I just want everything the same. Like I'm in charge of that. I understand that. Change is going to happen. This is not the life I thought I would be living at 70 when I was 40. I did not think this would be what was going on. But every year, and this is personal, I'll share this with you. Every time I hit a new decade, I try to do something that scares me a little bit to challenge myself and remind myself to not get complacent, to not get stuck. And so this year, a couple of weeks ago, I can't believe I'm saying, I went zip lining in the Asheville Mountains with a friend of mine.
Nice.
And this is these big mountains, and I'm looking down, I'm like, I don't think I can do this. And then I kicked off and went flying through the greenery and the mountains and everything else. And it was lovely and fabulous and all the rest. And I'm saying this as a way of saying, challenge yourself on your terms.
Mm-hmm.
Do things that push your boundary just a little bit, that you have some control over. Because energies that can be overwhelming on a national and international level can be very positive on a personal level. When I just talked about that Uranus Mars, and it can be violent and it can be upsetting, Uranus Mars is what got me in the mountains ziplining. It's active, it's physical, it's challenging. I used it in a positive way in my life. So you can use these energies in positive ways in your life, which is what I'm saying. When I talk about Mercury being retrograde, most people roll their eyes. Oh, crap. When is it going to rag? Like, life's going to suck. Well, maybe a little bit. But Mercury retrograde is good for certain things. It's good for having a reading because our mind just turned inside. We're ready to listen. So it's good to get a session with Patricia or a session with me or somebody else, and whoever you like. It's a wonderful time to work on your dreams because we're tuned within. So you may notice your dream life increasing. Keep a dream journal. We can go back and we can revisit something. Oh, did I handle that situation the best way? Maybe I can go back and tweak something. Sometimes we go back and we pick up old hobbies that we had put aside. Life got too challenging. I've stopped needle pointing, and we go back and pick it up. Just because it's new or different does not mean it's going to hurt your life. You have to be able to find the positive way of using that energy. In August, we're going to have Jupiter in Gemini, which is it's not a bad energy. We're also going to have Mars in Gemini. So we're going to have this Jupiter and Gemini sitting very close to each other. I'm going to say, regardless of what country you're in, Canada or the US, Gemini is a sign of communication. How we speak, how we talk, what do we write? What are our speeches like? What are our ideas like? How are we presenting things? It's wonderful for teachers and students. This is where we want to learn something new, whether it's how to astral travel or how to speak Spanish. Our minds are going to expand. And so, yes, I'm going to say for both Canada and the US, we are going to hear tons of political rhetoric. Everybody's mad at everybody else. That Mars and Gemini energy. Mars is forceful. That Gemini is our words. We can tune that out, but we want to make sure the words of what we are saying and communicating in our personal life are measured, that we're not just flying off the handle and screaming at somebody. If you are shy, if you tend to hang back, if you're not always very confident in your writing ability, this is a wonderful energy for you to use because Mars will give you more confidence. This is where you put your hands up. Call on me, I have an idea. Talk to your boss, share your ideas. It can be a very positive energy if you are controlling it. If you start flying off the handle at somebody, then it's controlling you.
Yes, absolutely. And it's a vibe, it's a thing, like I said, not just a global thing. It affects each and every one of us. It's crazy. So before we started, you mentioned about all the different planets changing all at once. Can you talk about that for because
One of the things, and as I said, the things that happened in the United States in July kind of knocked the ground out from under me. And I was kind of like, how did I not see that? How did I not know this? And my guides kind of came in like, what do you think you push God off his throne and you're not supposed to know everything? Get over yourself. So my guides had to put me in my place a little bit. But because of that, because of all that's been happening, I've been meditating on this more. I've been asking for more guidance. I've been tuning into this more. And one of the things, just like you, Patricia, that it's not, I don't know, stuck or centered in 2024. I keep going to 2025. So I know the things that are happening now are setting us up for next year. And one of the things that I mentioned to Patricia is that next year in 2025, we are going to have the planet Jupiter change signs. For the first time in a year, it will move into a new sign. It'll change from Gemini into the sign of Cancer. We also have Saturn changing signs. For the first time in 2.5 years, Saturn will finally leave Pisces, and it is going to move into the sign of Aries. If that's not enough, we also have the planet Uranus, which has been in the sign of Taurus for the last 7 years. Next year, for the first time in 7 years, it leaves Taurus and it moves into Gemini. Not done yet. One more. Neptune has been in the sign of Pisces for the last 12 years. Next year, for the first time in 12 years, it is going to leave Pisces and it is going to move into Aries. So we have a lot of Aries energy coming up. Doesn't make it bad, but Aries is all about fresh new beginnings. It is about the start of things. Sometimes it can be a little bossy. It can be a little aggressive. I know what to do. Let's do this. But in our personal life, it does that innocently. In the political and national world, maybe not so much. But on a personal level, most of the time we do that innocently. So we're going to see some major changes because remember, when these planets change, that's not just for our personal lives or even our nation. The world is going to experience that. One of the things that I think we're going to see next year with this Saturn and Neptune coming together is we're going to see a new wave of people leaving their jobs that don't feed their soul and move into work that lifts them up and has meaning to them. And so many of you right now are saying, I can't do this anymore, or this is mindless, or I have to do something else, or I'm being called to do this or that. So you're going to start feeling some of this. I don't know that you're going to actually make the change this year. You might, but you're starting to look at it. You're starting to work on it. I thought about doing some sort of 4-week, 6-week class or something about how you turn your passion into your profession. Because I do this full time. Patricia does her work full time. Yeah. But most people in the mind, body, spirit industry do not. They have another income. They have a spouse. They have, something else that pays the bills, and this is for fun. But people are going to start to say, I can't work like this anymore. I can't live like this anymore. I have to be true to myself. I want my life to have more meaning. So it is going to be a time when I think we're going to see a major wave of people starting to say, my heart is going to rule. My spirit is going to guide me. I'm not going to just chase the almighty dollar, whether that's Canadian or American. Yeah. We're going to have work that is uplifting to us. So I don't look at this as negative, but it's a lot. It's a lot of different energies coming in. I don't think any one of them by themselves is bad or negative, but it's sort of like if you're getting a lot of different flavors all meld together, it can be a little muddy or you can lose the individuality. So it's going to be up to us. And in the future, Patricia, I will talk about this more and more as we get closer and closer to 2025. It's going to be important for us to know, where is that new Aries energy going to fall in our chart? How is that going to affect me? What do I want to be doing with this? And so wherever that's going to fall, it's going to light up for you. Where we're going to have different parts of our charts all lit up at the same time. because wherever Cancer is in your chart, it gets a new burst of energy. Wherever Aries is in your chart, it gets a new burst of energy. Where Gemini is, it gets a new burst of energy. So it's like boom, boom, boom. You're doing this, you're doing that, which is why we talk so much about staying grounded, about staying centered, because you can use those energies on your terms.
Yeah.
If you're in your space, if you're centered in your heart, in your love, in your light, that's why it's so important. So I look at it as exciting.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it more and more as we get closer and closer to next year, and
It
bring
also
that more and more.
it also feels like time is speeding up. I know that sounds really weird, but when I remote view the second half of this year and then going into 2025, it's literally like the energy speeds up. Like I'm telling you, the beginning starts at the second half of the 2024. We'll see it dribbling in, you know what I mean? Or crumbs that lead us. And we'll be able to look back and say, oh, that's when it really began, right? Um, but it feels like when I hit about January, February, March of next year, it's like it goes way faster than this time frame between now and like January, February. It feels slower. Yet not slow. It still feels fast.
Not slow.
Not slow. It's just I notice a time crank almost going when we go into 2025. And I wonder if with all of those different planets changing all at once, I wonder if that has something to do with what I'm picking up or why I'm perceiving it that way, as in time, or I don't know. It's because I mean, all the planets give off an energy, so maybe it's giving off the energy that time is speeding up. You know what I mean? Because time is a construct, it's a human construct.
Right.
There really is no such thing as time. And trust me, when you get out of this 3D dimension, you realize what a joke time actually is. So it's totally just a human construct. But yeah, I wonder if that construct is speeding up next year.
I agree with you. I think, yeah, what we consider time to be is definitely speeding up. And because of that, we feel a little stressed.
Yes,
If we're not prepared for that, and
it's a
we're
push.
not ready for that. Like, what's happening? I can't keep up. Too much is happening too
Yes.
quickly. I totally get that because I feel like that a lot. And then I'll do
Right.
some deep breathing and center myself and meditate and use the tools and the skills that I have. So it's okay to feel like that and to feel stressed, but it doesn't mean that bad things have to happen. One of my clients said something like, it feels like I keep waiting for the anvil to fall on my head. And I started laughing. I was like, I totally understand that analogy, because we just, the carousel is moving faster and faster and faster. Things are going by in a blur. And the more that we can focus, the easier life is, because we're a little bit more in charge.
Mhm.
This year, we're talking about August. In September, for the first time in a long time, Mars is going to enter the sign of Cancer. Now, that's not a bad thing. Mars goes about 6 weeks staying in each sign, does its thing and leaves. Every once in a while, Mars decides to do something different, and it will hunker down in a sign and stay there for months.
Oh,
This time, it's not leaving Cancer after 6 weeks. It's going to hunker down in Cancer for September, October. In November, December, it puts a big toe into Leo. And then going back in January through May of next year, it's still in Cancer.
weird.
So Cancer is often the heart of a country. It's the heart of our home, but it's the heart of our country as well. So a lot of people, because remember, this is for the world. We are going to see big changes next year, I think, in the housing market all over the place. I think there's going to be changes in the housing market in Canada. I think there's going to be changes in the housing market for the United States. But I think it's also going to be changes in how we see our family.
Mm,
What makes a family? Things we never questioned before. Step siblings, half siblings, second marriages, third marriages. Well, she's my second stepfather's, once removed cousin or something. How do we feel about family and what makes our family? So we may see birth rates increase, because I'm going to tell you, Cancer is a very fertile sign. And there are times that I'm talking to a young woman and I'll be like, okay, I don't know how to say this, but I don't care how romantic the moment is. If you are not ready to start a family,
Yeah.
your chart is saying don't go there. Sometimes I just have to kind of lay it out as clear as I can. You know, we want family. So we may be seeing family more. We may be traveling to them. Housing is going to be going on. We're going to see a lot of changes. I don't think these are bad changes, but I want you to be ready for them. This in 2024, it's a better year to sell. 2025, I think it's a better year to buy.
Oh, okay.
Understand, I know nothing. I know nothing about the housing market. I know nothing about finance or what have you. I'm just saying astrologically, I think we'll see some changes in the market next year, in the housing market next year. But Cancer is also a sign that's very emotional. Those are emotions. And Mars is pretty forceful. So any kind of buried resentments that we have, buried anger, things that we push down and we don't say anything for the sake of the family, to keep the peace. That peace is not going to keep that shoved down. So I think by late August, early September, you're going to start to see some people go, no, I'm not inviting Uncle so-and-so. He's always drunk. He's not coming to my house. Like all this stuff is going to start coming up, but it's healthy because the emotions we haven't acknowledged start to come up and out.
Yeah.
And hopefully, again, one of the things that Patricia and I are always stressing, have them come out on your terms.
Yes.
You get to think about this and use this and decide, how do I want to say this? How do I want to present this? You don't just blurt it out at the dinner table, So that's one of the things I love about astrology. It gives us a heads up. And it's one of the things I love hearing when Patricia talks about this stuff. And then it happens, oh, Patricia talked about that. I knew this was going to happen.
I say the same thing about you. It's like, oh my God, Susan mentioned that. Susan warned me. So it's nice, it's neat to be able to come together and see how, because energy is energy, right? You're reading it through the stars, I'm reading it through spirit, through remote viewing, astral traveling. Like there's many different ways that I gain access to information. But it's really neat how the imprint is there. And when you know how to read it, you can look back and go, oh my God. But it's like I said, it's going to be interesting over these next few months and to see what goes down with everything because it feels so up in the air and that's why I said like I'm not making any political predictions right now. I'm just going to sit back and I've got popcorn just like everybody else and I'll watch the show go down. Don't ask me about it because I'm telling you, it's too staticky for me to dip my toes in right now. It really, really is. For anybody who didn't know, I'm on vacation this summer. I took my summer off. And so my head, I did this for you guys to see what's going on. This is my commitment with Susan that I will be here once a month for us to do this for you guys. And so I hope you enjoy it. But before we almost come to a close, because it's getting close to that time, I did want to mention follow me on YouTube, do the like and subscribe thing so that you can watch my journey and join me live on my journey because it's really cool when I can interact with you guys and you can ask me questions and see things through my eyes that's happening in real time and tune in and connect with the energy of where I am because I'm going to some really cool, amazing, sacred, some dark and mysterious and ghostly places. I'm doing all of it. I'm up for experiencing it all, and I'm a warrior of the light. So if there's anything, any dark places that I'm going into, I know how to amp up my protection and put on that armor of God. So I'm good. We're gonna get some, really cool. I'm in for the evidence, getting things on tape, and so is my friend Carol, who will be filming and doing stuff with me. So if you haven't liked and subscribed, this way you won't miss anything because you'll see it pop up when I go live. So join me on my European adventures, my bucket list adventures that I'm going to be doing. And then at the end, I'll be going back to the Monroe Institute in Faber, Virginia. Hopefully our paths can cross again. I know you tried to get into the course, but man, they fill up fast. They do, because they're the good. They're that darn good. They're the science behind what we
They're
do,
very
right? So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that they failed, but hopefully, our paths will cross and
good.
divine time, and we'll be able to maybe even do a live again like we did the last time. It was so much fun to have that time with you. So I
Well,
think
I'm going to say I will be in New York in August, but my predictions will be on my website, exploreastrology.com. And every month I put up free predictions for all the signs. So I already finished them. They will be out there before August 1st. So see what's going on with your sign. If you want to be on my mailing list for my free monthly newsletter about the new moon and the full moon, send me your email address. I will add you to the list and you can start seeing what's going on with the moons. I will be in New York for at least 1 week in August. I love New York. I don't know that I love it in August, but love, love, love New York. So we will be, yeah, seeing some fun things. And of course, I'm going to be looking at the woo-woo side of New York City and see what's going on there.
nice, 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 nice. Well, we will keep in touch so that we can do our August one together, and hopefully it would be in person.
Wouldn't that be nice? I'm
Let's
trying to work it
aim for
out.
that again.
Yeah.
So we'll aim for that, but we will let you guys know. We'll keep you posted. So, Susan, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming out, saying your truth, and getting this information out there so people understand what's going on. Because man, I tell you, it's about to go crazy over the next little while, and people should know.
People should know, but we are going to handle it just fine.
Yeah, grace and ease the whole way, my friend. Grace and ease. So, where can they find you? What is your website?
My website is exploreastrology.com. And there are some articles on there. There's free predictions on there. You can sign up for my free newsletter. I do my best to give back and to share what I know. So, yeah, there's a lot going on. August is also going to be a little bit of a bumpy month. Not bad, but a little bumpy. So buckle up and we will get through it together.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. God bless.